Alright guys, we are back. Once again, we are in Zashato's house, and he posted this video here addressing the mythic drama. Now, I didn't even realize there was a drama regarding mythic heroes until he put this video out and I saw the title. So I did a little bit of digging into the subreddit, and I found a couple of topics that we're gonna go ahead and take a look at here that involve this mythic drama. So, Cello Gear says, it's not much, but every little bit helps. For those tired of the mythic trend, please send feedback. So let's see, what is this controversy here? What is actually happening? So, the lack of mythic characters from the series outside of Fire Emblem Heroes' original characters is very disappointing. With the next mythic banner already expected to have Lay Raider and Nidhogger, that means the entirety of 2024 will have only released one mythic hero that was not an original character to Heroes, that being Lumera. Please, there are still many candidates from the series entries that people would be excited to see as mythic heroes. Characters like Digensia, I doubt he would be a mythic, actually. Leran, Loptus, Athos, Hartmut, etc., to name a few. Okay, Athos, I mean, I co-sign with that, absolutely. Hartmut would be awesome. Also, Thrud would be pretty rad. And Baldur would be pretty rad. There's a lot, dude. There's just so many options that they could go with for all these characters that we've never really seen. I think Soan was also mentioned by Altina by name, and he's not even in the game. Like, at least Digensia has the Halloween alt. There's no mention of Soan anywhere. At all. He was pretty much Altina's status. He's only in that one cutscene in Radiant Dawn, like all the way at the end game, where you see Altina riding on his back with the Alondite and Ragnall, and then Digensia is in the background as well. That's really the only thing we have of Soan, and what I signed up for when I started playing Fire Emblem Heroes was to get a lot of these random but awesome characters, like Altina, for example, that we never thought we'd get to play as or get any sort of backstory on from the original games, and then we can just get it in Fae, right? Like, it's a fan servicey way that they can expand on the lore of the franchise and the characters and all that good stuff. I think it would be really nice to get characters like that added. And if you think about it, mythic heroes are mainly the way that we would get that, so I can actually see some of the frustrations here that people are having. The Fire Emblem Heroes original characters should be released more as a mix of mythic and legendary characters, or even non-mythic and legendary characters, to provide more opportunities for mythic heroes from other series entries to get into the game. Please consider this. Well, I think the main reason why they haven't been doing that, though, is because of sales. Because if you think about it, a lot of the mythic heroes don't really sell too well, especially when they go for the characters that are less well-known. So, for example, a lot of these guys here, Digensia, I mean, is he well-known or is he not? I don't think too many people have played Radiant Dawn, to tell you the truth, even though everyone who has will always sing it all the praises in the world. It's probably the best game. I don't think too many people would actually be interested in characters from Radiant Dawn, to tell you the truth, considering we are, like, post Three Houses era. Three Houses is now basically the entry point for a lot of people into Fire Emblem. So I don't think they care too much looking back, like looking at the old games right now. That's really where the fan base is at the moment, as sad as that may be. So if for them to release characters like that, they tried it once with Uller. Like, Uller was a random choice, though. I don't know why they picked her. Out of all the possible 12 heroes of Jugdral they could have picked, why did they pick Uller, right? Like, that's such a random pick. But she probably sold really awfully, and that just left a bad impression on them for possible really cool choices that they could do that are not OCs, like just really legendary characters that we've only heard about in stories. So, I don't know, man. Probably that's the reason why they haven't been doing it, is because of sales, and at least the mythic OCs are all fan servicey in terms of, like, waifu-ness. So, obviously, Nidhogger is going to be awesome when she releases, because she's just another snake woman. Also, from the previous book, we had Kvassar, we had Satyr, we had, like, all the waifus from that book, Hater as well. Like, all of those waifus from Book 7 basically sold off of the merit of them just being waifus. So, I think that's really the thought process that they're having here in terms of, like, who they choose as mythic heroes. All right, the emblems are probably the replacements for the non-OC mythics, but the bad news, though, is that the emblems are only going to be the emblem heroes, like, main lords that we've already got in the game, like Erica, Ike, etc. What people really want are just characters that have not been added to the game yet to get a chance, and I can totally agree with that sentiment. All right, real question at this point is, what comes first, Mythic Athos or End of Service? Bro, we're going to get GTA 6 before we get Athos at this point. I'm telling you. Mark my words on that one. All right, all the Book 5 characters should have been legendary, not mythic. Mix of legendary and mythic units. Your wish is my command. Ensures there are no Fey OC legendaries. You know, I think the Fey OCs are best served, maybe not as legendaries and mythics, but I always like them as seasonal characters. Like, for example, the summer banners and the New Year banners and things like that. I think that's a good place to put them on. Because, of course, a lot of them are really just fan servicey characters. Like I said, Gulveg, for example, Satyr, Hater, all of those, like, thick, baddie waifus. They are always best suited on the summer banners, the New Year banners, like all those banners where they can really just show off. So I think having the OCs just delegated as seasonal options is probably best, and then the legendary and mythic units could be reserved for the tried and true classic Fire Emblem characters. Alright, I prefer largely this than to get random Athos now while there's no hurry for him. What do you mean there's no hurry for him? And all to end up with a forever incomplete Book 8 family, bro. Okay, I mean, sure, let's finish Book 8 while we're here. We're already down this path. There's only 2 people left, Layrather and also Needhogger. So we might as well get them out of the way as we have the chance to. But Athos, there's no reason why he's not in the game yet. Literally the best time to release him was after Nurgle, right? Like, they gave us Nurgle on the Fallen banner, and then the legendary hero for that month was freaking Male Corrin, who they could release at any moment. But the timing was so perfect for Athos on that banner. So I would have much rather him be added at that point as opposed to who knows when he's going to get added now. This hate boner the community has for Fey OCs is so dumb. I also agree with this as well. We've seen enough of most of the characters from the main series. Like, we have all the support conversations and maybe the base conversations if those apply and so on. And there's even DLC too. Like, Champions of Yore was a really cool DLC from Awakening with a lot of backstory for these characters. So I feel like most of the mainline series characters already have a lot of their story done. It's only for the really random characters like Altina, Soan, and so on that we really have never seen yet. Also, Roland would be pretty badass too. Roland from FE7, the old legendary hero from the Scouring that is, I think he's Eliwood's descent, or Eliwood is a descendant of him. So he would be pretty cool too. He has like blue hair instead of the red hair that Eliwood and Roy have. So Roland would be a pretty interesting dude. And we don't know anything about him really. So like that's where Faye can really come in handy with that and giving us some more lore information on these old legendary characters that we never saw. All right, how did you read that inquiry and just dismiss it as, oh my god, they hate OCs? Well, maybe the person who wrote this here, Shello Gear, maybe he doesn't hate OCs, but I've seen a lot of people just hating on OCs for no reason. I think that's a little unwarranted, but at the same time, I can see OC fatigue. I think that's more so what it is as opposed to OC hate right now. Alright, that's the problem. They likely didn't even read the inquiry. Oh, well, that can't be me. I just literally read it at the start. Also can be evident with how this post is at 0 negative upvotes despite plenty of comments here out of a mere 18 seeing the rationale. Most people are probably downvoting the mere notion of send feedback because of what they perceive to be a hate boner and dipping. Okay. Hate doesn't come from the OCs themselves, but more so the fact that they take up 90% of the Mythic release slots, so we never see main series ones outside of like once a year. Yeah, this is probably what it is. It's just like OC fatigue more so than OC hate. Alright, let's move on to this topic over here. I am starting to get so tired of OCs taking up Mythic slots. Here's a list of every Mythic we had received in the last 2 years with non-Mythics bolded. Okay, so Lumera in January. We got Veil last year in October. Goto and Femortis. This was one of the best-selling banners, actually, I think, for Mythic and Legendary banners as far as those go. Goto and Femortis actually sold really good, and it's all thanks to Femortis, because he's the Demon King, right? He's actually not a dragon. He's the first final boss to not be a dragon in Fire Emblem. So he had a lot of appeal for that. Also, FE8 is one of the more, I guess, memorable games out of all the Western releases. So Femortis was definitely going to do good. All right, then we had Arvel as well at the start, or October 2022. And then we had Medius and Elamine. As we can see, they've actually been going less and less into the pocket for the actual characters and just relying mostly on OCs for the Mythics nowadays. So, yeah, I mean, the proof is right here in the pudding. You can see the release schedule here. And they have been toning it down quite a bit in terms of, like, actual character releases for the main series, and now it's just OCs, really. All right, in the last 2 years, we received 20 Mythics. 18 if we don't count the book OCs, and of those Mythics, only 7 of them have been non-OCs. Yeah, pretty sad moment. We're all but guaranteed another 2 OCs for November. Yeah, and we're already aware who those 2 are going to be. In total, including all book OCs plus Teres Velger, there are currently 45 Mythics, of which 17 are non-OCs, 28 are OCs. So roughly 62% of the Mythics in the game are OCs. When you look at it like that, I don't think that's that bad of a statistic. It's almost 50%. It's not that much far over. But when you look at recency, that's when it looks bad, because, like, maybe not so much in 2022, but from 2023 and up, they've started to really tone down on which characters from the main series they release as Mythics. And really, the only suggestion I have for that is because they probably weren't selling that great, so that's why they've been doing this now. Alright, one day we'll get another Crusader. I'm coping, but I want Fjalar so bad. I would like Thrud and Baldur, I think, would be the 2 ones that I want the most. I'm surprised they haven't done Thrud yet either, considering how popular Reinhardt is. It seems like a missed opportunity. Because there's no way he's not going to sell. At least better than Uller, that's for sure. Alright, to make more players pissed, I bet the next main Mythic will be Sombron. Why would that piss people off? I know a lot of people actually want Sombron. Alright, well, this dude basically mandatory with all BS, Celica, and Sigurd effects running around. Yeah, probably. I really do think he'll come with this skill. It's in Engage, and it will shut down Emblem effects. Most likely at the start of the map as well, if I had to guess. Alright, please no. Please have mercy on a poor Sephiran enjoyer. As someone who hasn't played Engage, the last Mythic banner that featured someone I knew anything about was Goto and Femortis in January 2023, closing in on almost 2 years at this point. Am I asking for too much here? Is the OC fan base really that gigantic? Probably not, but the fan base of Faye is not that gigantic either, to be fair. Can I get, like, Laren or Athos once a year? I would like it if they did something like that once a year, like one random character that we've never really gotten too much lore on. We have a little bit of lore on Laren, because... Alright, maybe I shouldn't spoil it for people that haven't played Radiant Dawn, but we know a thing or two about Laren. We know a thing or two about Athos as well, but Athos should be in the game. He's literally just Fire Emblem Gandalf. There's no reason why he shouldn't be in the game. He's like the leader of the Fellowship. He has to be here. They've given us so many copies of Eliwood and Hector and Lyn, but to not have Athos, man, come on. Like, he definitely deserves it, for sure. Alright, we'll take a look at this final topic here, this little meme post, and then we will call it quits. So, Faye OCs for the millionth time. A truckload of Mythic candidates, but these ones especially. Put it back, Thief. Getting the Mythic slot. Yeah, dude, they ain't gonna give us these characters. Mythic Loki was the most unnecessary thing ever. this wouldn't have hurt so much if they just decided not to do that. I'll be fair to Loki, though. I feel like it was a while since we got anything out of her. Usually she appears in the stories and has, like, a couple of moments here and there, but she hasn't really done anything in a while. So when they released Mythic Loki, I think it was probably the right time to give her a little bit of something to do. But yeah, we haven't really dived too much into Loki anymore. We don't really know what her motivations are, or Thor either. Like, we haven't really scratched the surface on what those two are up to. So would be nice to get some more Loki lore in the story itself. All right, April and January were the only time in the year where we could have gotten a non-Heroes OC Mythic, yet we got Lumera again and Loki form that could have been saved for when she finally returns as the main villain. Decisions like those make me concerned that Famortis and Goto may be the last non-Heroes OC Mythics we get, which is insane since the banner performed really well and Famortis became a fan favorite. What do you mean became a fan favorite? He always was. Famortis is the only non-dragon final boss. That's like, that alone in Fire Emblem is such a big deal. Like, just the fact that he's the Demon Lord. And then he has all those like monsters that he generates, the eyeballs and the Medusa heads and the gargoyles and all of those. I would love to get them in Fae. If they ever want to add the monster enemies, that would be awesome. But, I don't know, probably too much work for them at this point. They've definitely checked out in terms of effort. So, we're probably not getting something like that at this point, sadly. Famortis and Goto feel more like a throwaway banner to empty the lore figure stocks after putting a halt to them. That and taping Goto up to a more convincing carry, outside of Engage for obvious recency reasons. Said decisions probably following the appeal struggles of Ashura and Medius, and potentially Arvel, with Famortis and Elamine not being enough to turn the table and offset low potential prospects in the eyes of decision makers. Well, I said this like 10 times already, but I think sales is really what gives them the idea on who they want to release as mythics, and it seems like those random characters that we all love and we would love to see as mythic heroes are just not possible to sell as many copies of. They're not going to sell orbs. They're not going to break the bank. So that's probably why they haven't been doing them. But yeah, I don't know how much this is actually going to help. You could go ahead and send feedback for sure. Like, definitely, it's not a bad thing to do. I just don't think they're going to pay attention to it if it's not involving their wallets. Like, we saw this with the arena change. It was actually going to hinder their sales of the Form of Souls had they gone through with the arena change. And that's the reason why I think they went back on their word on that. Not so much because of the fan outrage, but more so because it was going to hurt their sales. And that's really, at the end of the day, the only thing they care about, I think. So, yeah, I mean, by all means, send feedback, though. But just keep in mind, it may not work this time. So, I guess that's a good enough place to wrap up. I just wanted to take a little stroll down the subreddit and take a look at this controversy that I was completely unaware of until just recently. So, that's all for today. And I will catch y'all again on the flip side.